African Union Communications, Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals, intelligence, and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing on the progress of the special military operation as of May 16, 2026. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. The North Group of forces improved the tactical situation. Russian troops hit formations of 2 mechanized brigades, 1 airmobile brigade, and 1 assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine close to Velikaya Pisarevka, Zapsely, Novaya Sek, Popovka, Khotin, and Chervenaya Zarya in the Sumy region. In Kharkiv region, Russian troops inflicted fire damage on manpower and hardware of 1 mechanized brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine and 3 territorial defense brigades close to Budarki, Volokhovka, Granov, Mitrofanovka, and Ryasnoye in the Kharkiv region. The enemy losses were more than 180 troops, 1 armored fighting vehicle, and 11 motor vehicles. As a result of resolute actions, units of the West Group of Forces liberated Borovaya and Kutkovka in the Kharkiv region. Russian troops launched attacks on manpower and hardware of 2 mechanized brigades, 1 assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine close to Velikaya Shapkovka, Gorokovatka, Studenok, Chervony Oskol in the Kharkiv region, Krasny Liman, Mayaki, Svyatogorsk, and Sidorovo in the Donetsk People's Republic. The armed forces of Ukraine losses were more than 170 troops, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 23 motor vehicles, 2 field artillery guns, 1 electronic warfare station, and 1 counter-battery warfare station. The South Group of forces improved the situation along the front line. Russian troops hit formations of 3 mechanized brigades, 1 assault brigade, 1 mountain assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and 1 territorial defense brigade near Artema, Konstantinovka, Nikolaevka, Orekhovatka, Rai Alexandrovka, and Tikhonovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy losses were up to 105 troops, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 12 motor vehicles, and 1 field artillery gun. The center group of forces took more advantageous lines and positions. Russian troops delivered strikes at manpower and hardware of 1 mechanized brigade, 1 assault brigade, 1 airmobile brigade, 1 assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, and 3 National Guard brigades close to Vasilevka, Dobropolye, Novofedorovka, Svyatogorovka, Sergeyevka in the Donetsk People's Republic, Novopavlovka, and Novopodgorodnoye in the Dnepropetrovsk region. The armed forces of Ukraine losses were more than 270 troops, 9 armored fighting vehicles, and 11 motor vehicles. The East Group of forces continued to advance into the depth of enemy defenses. Russian troops inflicted fire damage on manpower and hardware of 1 mechanized brigade, 1 assault brigade, 1 air assault brigade, and 3 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine close to Gavrilovka, Dobropasovo in the Dnepropetrovsk region, Vozvyzhevka, Danilovka, and Novosolonoye in the Zaporozhye region. The enemy losses were more than 255 troops, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 6 motor vehicles, 1 artillery gun, and 1 Grad MLRS combat vehicle. Units of the Dnepr Group of forces hit formations of 3 mechanized brigades and 1 mountain assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine close to Kamyshevaka, Kirovo, Malokatrinovka, Odorovka, and Preobrazhenka in the Zaporozhye region. The enemy losses were up to 65 troops, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 15 motor vehicles, 1 electronic warfare station, and 1 counter-battery warfare station. Operational tactical aviation, attack unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian groups of forces inflicted fire damage on power, transport, airfield, and port infrastructure facilities that supported the armed forces of Ukraine, assembly areas of unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as temporary deployment areas of the armed forces of Ukraine and foreign mercenaries in 152 areas. Air defense systems shot down 12 guided aerial bombs, 2 U.S.-made HIMARS MLRS projectiles, and 353 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. The Black Sea Fleet destroyed 6 armed forces of Ukraine uncrewed surface vehicles in the northwestern part of the Black Sea.
In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the enemy has lost 671 aircraft, 284 helicopters, 146,873 unmanned aerial vehicles, 661 anti-aircraft missile systems, 29,326 tanks and other armored fighting vehicles, 1,720 MLRS combat vehicles, 34,949 field artillery guns and mortars, 61,727 support military vehicles.
Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.